When it comes to holding people accountable, do it in an inspiring way, not a micromanaging way. Do it in an inspiring way, not a way that makes people avoid you. Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Matthew Welsh, and welcome to the Leaders Only podcast, where we talk about business, leadership, mindset, and it's pretty much anything revolved around building an incredible life. You know, the reason that I started this podcast because I felt like on the way to where we're at now, there wasn't really a place to go learn tangible skill sets, leadership qualities, and mindset strategies that you can learn today, apply today, and get immediate results. And so the goal of this podcast is to teach you the things that you need to actually win, to actually change your life, and to actually grow your business and grow your team if you're someone that's in a leadership role. And so if you can do me a favor, if you ever get something out of our message, if you ever get something out of the content, if you can like, share, subscribe, just tell people about it. We put out all this information for free. And so all we ask is that you share it with a friend if you get something out of it. So with that being said, thank you guys so much, and let's tune in.
Let's go. I'm a big mood. You can't name a lot of things that I didn't.
Today, I'm going to be talking about inspiring accountability versus micromanaging accountability. And oftentimes when somebody steps into a leadership role or a management role, or they start leading some type of team or organization, what happens is they start micromanaging people in order to hold them accountable, hoping to get them to perform and go produce, and are hoping to get them to go get results. But it doesn't inspire people to take action, and it actually creates friction in their relationship. It creates friction in the environment and culture, and it leads to people avoiding the person in leadership, avoiding the person in management, rather than being drawn to them to continue to seek you out in order to get what they need in order to scale, grow, and just get better overall. And so what I want to go over is the difference between micromanaging leadership and leadership that inspires action, because it is two different things. And if we can understand those things as someone who's in leadership, it's going to lead to an overall better environment, a lot more productive environment, an inspiring environment, an environment that pulls the best out of people versus an environment that breeds toxicity and environment that people are trying to avoid and or stay out of. So I want to give you some ideas of some things that you can do to hold people accountable. And so the first thing that I want to recommend to you is when it comes to holding people accountable, don't use fear, use inspiration, and use desire. And so what I mean by this is let's say you have somebody in your organization, and let's say their dream is to be able to take care of their mom, or maybe it's put their kids in better schools, whatever it might be. If what inspires them is providing for someone in their life, or it's accomplishing a goal, or maybe they have this big dream or this big aspiration, find out what those things are and allow their dream, allow their goal, allow their focus to hold them accountable, and use that as leverage in the accountability process versus breathing down their neck trying to figure out if they got something done. And so let me give you an example of what I mean by this. You know, I had somebody in my organization the other day. He said, "Listen, Matt, I'm trying to get my people to perform." I said, "Well, what are you saying to them?" He said, "Well, I'm using their dreams, I'm using their goals." I said, "But how are you using their dreams and how are you using their goals?" And so he told me, I told him, "Listen, if you don't perform, you're never going to be able to provide for your mom." And I said, "Brother, sit back and just reevaluate what you just said. If you don't perform, you're never going to be able to take care of your mom." Does that inspire you to take action? Potentially, but can we do it in a more strategic way that's more positive and that pours encouragement and love onto someone versus using fear and or the scarcity of not being able to do something as the leverage in this conversation? And so what I would do instead, I would say, "Hey, listen, brother, remember when you told me that you wanted to take care of your mom? And it would mean the absolute world to you to be able to call her at the end of this year and say, 'Hey, mom, moving forward, I'm taking care of everything financially. I got you. I'm paying for everything. I'm replacing your income. You no longer ever have to work again.' Remember when you told me that you wanted to do that?" They go, "Yeah." I said, "How good would it feel to be able to call your mom right now and have that conversation?" They said, "It would feel incredible to be able to do that." Well, listen, brother, that's not far away. But in order to get to that point where you can do that, there are some things that we need to do today, over the next week, and over the next month in order to position us to be able to do that by the end of the year. And so what we need to do is over the next week, we need to go accomplish X, Y, and Z. And I know you can do it. Here's what you need in order to go do it. And if you go do this, it's going to get us one step closer to taking care of your mom, because that means the world to you. Yes? Okay, perfect. Well, then let's go accomplish X, Y, and Z, and let's go after making that happen. And so now when I'm having dialogue with this individual, it's about the dream. It's about taking care of his mom. It's not about did he get the result done. It's, hey, listen, brother, your mom's gonna be so proud of you in 6 months knowing that you got this done this week. How are we doing? Do you need any help? Do you need any support? What's going on? Where are we at in the process of getting this done this week? Versus, hey, where are you at? Did you get it done? Did you get the number? Did you get the result? Right? That's micromanaging, and it makes them avoid you versus want to be engaged with you. So have inspiring dialogue versus dialogue that makes them run from you. Another thing that you can do, and something that I do in my business, is I actually congratulate people when they show up with a 0 to our accountability calls. So as somebody who's in leadership and somebody who's in a management role, it's important to take accountability, and not just on a daily basis, but I would recommend taking accountability, worst case scenario, on a weekly basis, where people report their results, they report their numbers. But the only way that you're gonna get people who continue to show up, especially if you're in a business like mine, which is a whole bunch of independent contractors. I have thousands and thousands of independent contractors who are under my lineage. And so because of this, it's a volunteer army. None of them are required to follow me. None of them are required to stay in business with me. And so I have to make sure that I create this culture and environment where they want to show up and be accountable, and they're not afraid to show up and be accountable. And a lot of times when people hold an accountability call, the reason that people stop showing up is because they embarrass them whenever they show up with a 0, or they're afraid to show up with a 0. And so one of the things that I started doing in my organization is I actually congratulate people who show up with a 0. Do I challenge them to not have a 0 again? Absolutely. But by me congratulating them to show up with a 0, it changes their perspective and it turns something negative into something positive. So let me give you an idea of how I do this. So let's say I'm holding my accountability call, and I hold mine every Wednesday evening. And so let's say I'm holding my accountability call and somebody shows up and they said, "Hey, listen, Matt, I didn't get any results over the last 7 days." I will actually congratulate them for having the honor and the respectability as a man and or a woman to show up and say that publicly, that they got a 0. And so I say, "Hey, listen, brother, I'm proud of you because you showed up and you gave a 0 and you owned it." Do you know how you get better? You're willing to show up and own either the results and or the lack of results that you got. And this week, it's the lack of results that you got. And you showed up and you owned it, and I respect you for it. Because there's a lot of people that didn't show up today, and the reason they didn't show up is because they had a 0 and they were embarrassed of that 0, but not you. You showed up, you were a man of your word, you were a woman of your word, and you showed up, you gave that 0, and I'm proud of you for doing so. This is what I do want to challenge you to do, though. I want you to audit the last 7 days and figure out what was it that led to me having a 0, and then what are maybe some things I need to do over the next 7 days to keep that from happening again. So let's make sure by next Wednesday, when you show up to this accountability call, it's all, we got things on the scoreboard no matter what. Can we do that? No matter what, we have things on the scoreboard. No more 0s. 0s is not like you. You're a stud. You're a champion. Let's eliminate the 0. And by next week, let's make sure we get some results on the board, though. Does that sound good? Can we do that? Awesome. I believe in you. Anything you need help with, let me know, and I'll help you get some activity on the board. All right, brother, got your back. Different conversation, as you can see. It wasn't this, "Oh, you got a 0," or, "Hey, you got to get your butt to work. You didn't do anything in the last 7 days. Are you kidding me?" Those things make people not want to show up. It makes them embarrassed to show up, and it makes them want to avoid you and or not like you as somebody who's in leadership. So just remember, when it comes to holding people accountable, do it in an inspiring way, not a micromanaging way. Do it in an inspiring way, not a way that makes people avoid you. And if you can start to do this, you'll create an environment of people who are accountable, who are getting results, who are chasing performance, but also you'll keep the camaraderie high, the unity high, the energy high, the culture positive, which makes all the difference when it comes to building a successful business and a successful organization. So guys, if you got something out of today's message, if you can do me a favor, if you can like, share, subscribe, tell somebody about it. Obviously, we put out all this content and information for free. All we ask is that if you ever get value, you share it with a friend. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next week on the Leaders Only podcast.
Break a sweat. Let's get it. 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 Let's get it.